Troubling trends in early childhood and K-12 education. Not much money for early childhood education and learning. Public expenditures are between 1/4 and 1/8 of that of Scandinavian countries, for example, on a per capita GDP basis. That gives you some idea of how little we spend on early childhood. In K-12 education, the main problem again is that we don't have any ways of, we don't have any common approaches among the provinces in terms of learning outcomes. We have a big problem with citizenship and civics education, in part because we teach hardly any natural Canadian history at all. Just one course is mandatory in most provinces in Canada, and in some provinces no courses are mandatory in Canadian history. So we're probably the country that has the worst record in understanding our own history. Another big problem is the lack of apprenticeships and partnerships with industry in high school. We don't have very many of those, and yet we need people with skills who should be going to apprenticeships as early as high school. Troubling trends in more troubling trends in K-12 education. The main issue, of course, is the one I just mentioned, which is the fact that we don't have any harmonized or trans-Canadian learning outcomes. We should have shared outcomes in every age and every grade level across the country. Not shared, not the same curriculum, no national curriculum. We're talking about having minimal outcomes that every child at the same grade level in every province should be able to accomplish. That's what a learning outcome means. You can do it with a different curriculum, in a different language. You have to meet those standards. We don't have that in Canada, of course. That's the reason for which we're falling behind now. Our early start, our lead in standardized testing in high school is diminishing compared to OECD countries because we don't have those shared learning outcomes at international levels. And of course, the fact that we're so poor in Canadian history, we're so poor in citizenship and civics means that, of course, we're going to have diminishing participation in practices, in democratic practice. As you see when you look at voting patterns in the country, which show diminishment from election to election in the number of people participating, especially young people. Positive developments in post-secondary education and tertiary education. We spend a lot of money, and we have a lot of people going to higher education. And that's what you see looking at this slide here. Depending on when we're looking at universities or colleges, Canada would be in the top 5 in terms of participation rates and in terms of expenditures. Other positive developments in post-secondary education. We have good community colleges. They are a strong and quite responsive element of Canadian tertiary education, and we have good researchers. If you look at research records of Canadian academics and peer-reviewed publications and so on, the record is quite respectable. And we have an educated immigrant population, which obviously is an advantage. Troubling trends for post-secondary education, there are many, and they outweigh the positive developments. The main issue I want to focus on is this issue, and that you may not be able to read it, I'm not sure, but the main problem we have is that, again, we don't have any way of making societal decisions about what the priorities are for learning in Canada. You can see that between 1997 and 2005, for example, we increased our spending as a country on universities by 71%. We decreased our spending on the trades, the skilled trades, vocational trades, by 11%. I'm a university person, so that might strike me as a good idea, a lot more money for universities. But what underlies that is very troubling. The reason we started to spend so much money for universities was for research in universities, which I think is also a good idea personally, but the real reason it happened wasn't because we thought as a country that this would be an important thing to do, that university research should be for this decade a priority in Canadian education. The reason it happened is because the federal government is only allowed to spend money in certain areas in education, and research is one of those. And so it put billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars more into research because it could unilaterally do that. Not because anybody considered that it was more important than developing the trades. Of course, now we have, even during recessionary periods, we have shortages of people with trade skills. The point is that the decisions that are made about funding, allocation of resources in Canada have nothing to do with our actual needs, and nothing to do with any analysis of what the priorities should be or the objectives of the country as a whole. They are entirely related to federal-provincial dysfunction. The fact that provinces and the federal government don't talk to each other, don't plan together about any aspect of education in a serious way. And therefore, we're totally incohesive, we're totally uncooperative in most aspects of learning. And when you do that, of course, you're going to eventually over time fall behind, as is now happening. More troubling trends for PSE. We're still behind in a lot of the indicators for innovation. And some of the main ones for me certainly are science and engineering, but also apprenticeships. The reason we do poorly in apprenticeships, skills trades, is because, not because people don't want to go into the trades, not because of the images of the trades. People will become electricians and carpenters if you give them an apprenticeship place. The problem is that people can't find apprenticeship training spaces in the industry. The industry in Canada is very slow, doesn't take its responsibility in this regard, unlike a lot of countries in Europe in which there's a tradition that the employer has a responsibility towards the community and society. We don't have that tradition here. Similarly, we're very poor performing in research and development because industry doesn't expend in Canada as it does in other countries in the OECD on research and development. You can explain most of that by the fact that we're a branch plant economy and almost all the big companies are foreign owned. That means that they will invest their research dollars in their home country and not in the country in which they own resources. And we saw that quite vividly when foreign companies took over Falcon Bridge and Inco and suddenly moved all of the research. And it was not being done suddenly offshore to Brazil in one case, I think in Switzerland in another. So the result of that, the next slide, is that we have to spend a lot more public money on research and development than in other countries. That has implications for teaching and learning on campus. If I'm spending most of the money on research, I can't be spending it in the classroom. So you can see some of the figures here. You can see that Canada spends less than other countries, a lot less than other OECD countries in the private sector of research and development. So the money has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the public purse. But that's at the expense of higher taxes and at the expense of teaching and learning functions on university campuses, which is why you have so many part-time faculty members, why you have so many sessions, and why they're so badly paid. It's a function of what we have to do in terms of funding R&D in the country. Another big problem we have in post-secondary education is what I'm calling the crisis in male human capital. Given that 62% of all university graduates are now female here in Canada, which is a huge change from 10, 20 years ago, what's happening to all the male learners? And if they can't get apprenticeships, if they can't get into the skilled trades, it's a huge loss of capital, and that's what we're finding in human capital that we're finding in Canada today. So this is a huge issue. Overall, in PSE, we can't refer to a national system. We don't have any national system of higher education in Canada because we don't have the basis for a national system. So we don't have an accreditation system for post-secondary institutions. We don't have any informational framework through which we can understand and measure the quality of the PSE sector. And we're not necessarily matching labor market needs to policies in immigration. Overall, in PSE then, Canada is unique in all of the ways that we would want to be unique. We We have no national strategy for tertiary education. We have no acknowledged and accepted goals, national goals. We have no national benchmarks. We have no public reporting of results based on widely accepted indicators. We have no quality assurance system. We have no qualifications framework, and we have no system of accreditation. It makes it very difficult for students, for learners to navigate the sector to understand what would be advantageous for them to do. Ideally, what you want is for anybody anywhere in the country to be able to find the highest quality program in her desired field at the lowest cost, and one in which job prospects are good, and one in which people who graduated in that field recently have done well. That kind of information is not easily available on the national level. And as we have pointed out at CCL, Canada, of all the countries in the OECD, has the greatest deficiencies in the acquisition of data in post-secondary education. And that's important because without the information, of course, it's hard to make proper decisions. Next slide, please. This issue of information is one that you're going to have trouble with if you're doing research. You may have had trouble with this already. A national information base lacking. It's hard then to know what the capacity is in relation to labor market needs. It would be nice to know, for example, how many people train and graduate in carpentry every year, or in nursing, or in anything. But we don't actually have that information on a national basis every year because there are differences in definition in different provinces, even among different institutions. So how then can we match labor market needs to supply if we don't even know what the supply is from year to year? And how can you decide as a student what you're going to study if you don't know what the competition is, how many people there are, and what happened to them when they graduated last time? We don't know much about private providers of post-secondary education. We know that there are many, many more institutions every year, but we don't know much about them. We don't know much about community colleges, and we don't know much about part-time faculty in universities, except that there are more of them every year. But otherwise, we don't have much information. So we argue that we need a national strategy of data so that learners can make informed decisions, so that institutions can be more responsive, so that governments can plan better, and so that business and labor can have access to and respond to changes in the workforce. Skills development, I'm going to skip over this, skip over the next couple of slides, and go on to Aboriginal education just briefly, just to say that the news is a bit better here. We see that there has been some progress in Aboriginal learning over the last 7 years that CCL has been extant. One of the things that we've done is to develop some models for Aboriginal learning that are reflective of the cultures of Aboriginal societies. Different models, but nevertheless similar in the concept. One for the First Nations, one for Métis, and one for Aboriginal peoples. Just a couple of positive developments. One, I think, that stands out is the second one here, that Aboriginal people in Canada are now doing as well in terms of participation rates as other Canadians in participation in community colleges. And also that when Aboriginal people graduate from universities, their employment is just as good as non-Aboriginal people. I'm going to skip over the next two slides about Aboriginal learning, although it's very interesting in and of itself, and move on to the way forward. And again, look at our conclusions about the way forward, how we can do better in each phase of learning, starting with early childhood and K-12. I think the most important thing, obviously, is resources, but also to have shared national indicators, which I mentioned are now absent, so we can know if we're making progress, and so people can make enlightened choices about models. For primary and secondary education, the most important thing is to have shared learning outcomes, using carefully determined international criteria. What should a grade 6 graduate know in every province in mathematics? That's what I mean by shared learning outcomes. You have different curriculum or history, different curriculum if you want, different language, but you have to have shared learning outcomes, minimal standards.